Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest as it pertains to reigning WBA Super Bantamweight champion Erica Cruz of Mexico ahead of what is to be her fight with Nazarena Romero. Erica said, "This is my mandatory challenger, but my sights are set on bigger dreams. Mercado, Scotney, LaFarve, I'm coming for all of the belts. Romero won't be the one to stand in the way of my destiny. Viva Mexico." It would seem that ahead of her upcoming mandated title defense against her mandatory Nazarena Romero, Erica has unifications on the brain. She wants to try and consolidate the titles, unify this division. That's her dream. But what are the odds that she will see it realized when she must first deal with one of the more dangerous fighters and punchers at this weight, Nazarena Romero?
Because before it becomes about any of them, any of the other titleists at this weight, Ellie Scotney, Jamie Mercado, she's got to get past Nazarena. And I don't know
that she can. There are not a lot of fighters at this weight that I think can hold their own, especially not in the pocket with Erica Cruz. There are not a lot of fighters, but Nazarena, she is one of them.
I've talked about this fight.
And how this fight puts the pressure fighter in there against the pressure fighter for what is likely to be an all-action shootout between a Mexican puncher versus an Argentinian puncher. And the Argentinian puncher, in this case, seems to be a stronger puncher.
Stronger than Erica.
Yes, set to go down early next month. On the 11th, Nazarena Romero appears to have more single punching power in a single punch than Erica does, with better form.
You can see the difference. You can see the difference in power. It's noticeable how girls react to Erica's punches and Erica's combinations and how they react to Nazarena's. It's important to note that Erica's got the better resume. Erica has fought comparatively better fighters than Nazarena has, but they do share one common opponent and former WBA champion Mayerlin Rivas.
Like I said, there's a glaring difference between how girls react to Nazarena's power and Erica's power. It seems to me that Nazarena has more of it in a single punch, though she's not one for throwing a single punch. She's a combination puncher, just like Erica, seemingly with more power.
It's in the quads.
The difference in the fighters' dimensions and how they're built. A lot of Nazarena's weight seems to be in her quads and those meaty thighs, whereas a lot of Erica's weight seems to be in her trunk, in her torso. Power, as it were. Power is generated from the ground up, thus it's not hard to see where Nazarena's power comes from.
Can Erica beat her?
Erica will have home field advantage. The fight is set to go down south of the border in Erica's native Mexico, so she's got that working for her, but she's a pressure fighter. She's a combination puncher, just like Nazarena, so she's going to be open for Nazarena's combinations, and the same is true in reverse, but Nazarena's got more power. I know Erica has a chin.
Yeah, she won 10 rounds with Amanda Serrano.
But I don't know. The effect that Nazarena's punches has when they land, it's really something. It's a sight to behold.
Erica has to make it past her. To realize this dream of unifying this division, she has to beat Nazarena, and I don't know if she will.
The second problem,
Even if she does.
for argument's sake, let's say she wins. The WBC champion at this weight, Jamie Mercado, who's going to be in action this weekend opposite the ring, veteran journeywoman Linda Leica, who I expect Jamie to beat.
Yeah, she's gonna beat her.
I have it on good authority that so long as Jamie wins this weekend, she'll move straight into a voluntary title defense against Matchroom Zone Ramla Ali on the undercard of Bam Rodriguez versus Gallo Estrada a few weeks from now.
What's wrong with that?
Well, if the rumor checks out and Jamie's fighting Ramla Ali, she's not fighting Erica Cruz. That would theoretically leave her with only Ellie Scotney
Catford
to contend with. That would be the only other champion at this weight available to fight. Unified IBF and WBO champion Ellie Scotney, who was in action not that long ago opposite the ring, then champion Sigaline LaFarve, who she beat to become this division's only unified champion right now.
It's a tough ask.
For Erica Cruz it would be, if she is fortunate enough to make it past Nazarena Romero, and I'm not sure that she will. Ellie Scotney ain't no walk in the park either.
No, she's not as big a puncher as a Nazarena Romero, but she is, by and large, a better boxer.
Painting the portrait of the gauntlet that Erica Cruz would have to run to try and unify titles in this division. It's not easy. This is not a barren weight class like those divisions up there at 154 and 160. No. Unifying titles at 122 is a lot harder because this is a more densely populated, talent-rich division with many, many good fighters in it.
Champions.
Thus, addressing the question, what are the odds that Erica Cruz can unify this division? It's slim pickings.
It's not easy.
And that's if she even manages to make it past her mandatory challenger early next month in May.
See if she can.
We'll talk more about it as the fight date approaches. In men's super lightweight news, on the heels of this past weekend's action, the editorial panel at Ring Magazine has so decided to update their current pound-for-pound rank standings, and Devin Haney has been dropped out of Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound top 10. In his place, I believe they have placed Junto Nakatani, which isn't a bad shout.
Not bad.
Though I think it would have made a little bit more sense to rank Kazuto Ioka, who's been around a lot longer than Junto and has a more robust body of work. Better still, I don't mind seeing the name of Junto Nakatani there. I even understand Ring Magazine's logic in dropping Devin Haney from their list, as I have dropped him from mine, per the rules that govern the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. No fighter coming right off a loss is allowed to maintain a rank.
Even if they still have a belt?
Even if. Until such a time as that fighter can return to action and get themselves back in the winner's bracket, proving that they're still competing on the level and they've still got it, they're off the list.
Winning is what got you there, and winning is what'll get you back.
That's how the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list works, and it seems that the people of Ring Magazine are of a similar mindset, though you will notice that while they dropped Devin Haney, they still have Errol Spence Jr. there. Errol Spence Jr. ranks in at number 7, where Devin isn't on the list at all. And if you're dropping Devin for his loss this past weekend, why haven't you dropped Errol Spence Jr. yet?
It's been months since he got his ass kicked by Terrence Crawford.
Close to a year. We are closer to July of this year than July of last year, and he hasn't fought, but he's still there. He's coming off a loss the same as Devin, but he's been coming off a loss longer.
Took a worse beating.
There has been some debate as to who took the worst beating, Devin Haney on Saturday or Errol July of last year. And I think Errol's beating was worse, far worse, because Errol only won one round in the Crawford fight, whereas Devin, he won at least 4 or 5 rounds this past Saturday.
At least 4 or 5.
Both guys were knocked down 3 times officially in their respective bouts, but Errol was stopped, where Devin Haney went the distance and survived. Errol couldn't go the distance. He didn't make it that far. So for me and my money, his beating was a lot more severe and the effects more long-lasting than what Devin suffered this past Saturday.
Devin can recover, but I'm not sure that Errol can.
Both beatings were demoralizing in their own way. As much as Crawford versus Spence was built up over the course of 5 years, it was one-way traffic. It was all one-way traffic. It was a lopsided affair that Errol didn't look like a unified champion in there. He looked like a guy who was out of place. He looked like he didn't belong in the same ring as Terrence Crawford. And that was demoralizing.
And Devin?
Was originally perceived that Ryan Garcia didn't belong in the same ring as Devin, that Ryan, who's never been a champion, wasn't a champion at 135, 140, isn't one now.
Everybody thought Devin was going to beat him.
Mostly everybody, save a few ballsy gamblers who turned over a quick buck off of Ryan Garcia's upset. It was demoralizing because going in, Devin was thought of as being a much higher tier, a higher caliber of fighter, by and large, than Ryan Garcia. So for him to get sat down on his ass as many times as he did, that was demoralizing.
Landing punches that were having no effect.
That was demoralizing.
Stumbling around the ring. Equilibrium's all messed up. He's all over the place.
That was demoralizing. Though even with all of that, Devin Haney finished the fight on his feet. He went the distance with Ryan, and he won more rounds against Ryan than Errol did against Crawford. So for me and my money, Errol's beating was far worse. And if I'm being honest, I think that fight left Errol permanently damaged. And I don't know what else he has to give to the sport of boxing, whereas Devin is young. Devin can recover.
He will.
But Errol still hasn't. So when I see that his name is still there on Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound list at number 7 and Devin's isn't, I'm just left scratching my head. Why is Errol still there if Devin isn't? If Devin losing on Saturday costed him a rank, why hasn't it costed Errol Spence Jr. his rank? What is the hierarchy of thought here?
I don't know. That's why I keep my own list and I don't go by anybody else's.
But I will commend the people at Ring Magazine for not adding Ryan Garcia to their list, as some people have it in their head that because Ryan beat Devin, that now makes Ryan a pound-for-pound fighter, irrespective of the context.
The context that's missing.
That Ryan didn't make the weight. He didn't make champion weight. Not rewarding him for his shenanigans by giving him a pound-for-pound rank and validating him.
I take my hat off to them for not being slaves to the moment.
Like so many people in boxing are, because young Ryan is trending right now, and he's a hot-button topic with a lot of fans.
And he pulled a big upset.
You can give him credit for that, but let's not jump off a cliff here.
There was angling. There were shenanigans.
Don't reward him for those shenanigans by giving him a pound-for-pound rank. You're only encouraging him.
And other fighters like him.
You want to fight? Congratulations, but it took some angling, and everybody knows it. And finally, earlier today, the kickoff press conference for what's supposed to be the Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov show in early August on the West Coast, financed by none other than His Excellency, Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh.
They held the press conference earlier today. Few surprises.
And what seemed to be some late additions to the show. You know, yesterday we found out that Virgil Ortiz will be facing Tim Tszyu on the undercard, provided that he takes care of business this weekend opposite the ring, Thomas Dulorme, and most of us are expecting him to. He should beat that guy in lopsided fashion. But adding to that, David Morrell has also been added to the show. His upcoming fight against Radovaj Kalajdzic, where initially the fight was supposed to be going down in June in Minneapolis. Now it's set to go down in August on the undercard of what is undoubtedly a bigger show. A much bigger show with a much bigger profile than whatever that was supposed to be in Minneapolis.
Some speculated that that was going to be the free show, the non-pay-per-view show we'd been hearing about for months.
Because so many of the shows that the PBC has announced since jumping into bed with Amazon have been behind a paywall. They've all essentially been pay-per-views. There was a lot of focus on what non-pay-per-view shows do they intend on doing it. It was originally thought that David Morrell's next fight, the one that was supposed to go down in June in Minneapolis, that would be their non-pay-per-view show. There appears to have been a change in plans, and now he's going to be fighting August 3rd on a much bigger show with a much bigger profile, and it's good news. It's a welcome addition to what already was a stacked card before that addition was made, though now that begs a different question. With so many of the PBC's fighters tied up,
There are about 5 PBC fighters fighting on this show.
David Morrell, Andy Ruiz, Isaac Cruz, Rayo Valenzuela, and Tim Tszyu. That's not even counting the originally reported Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares, who, if they do fight on this show, that would make 7. 7 PBC fighters all tied up with this show. And if that turns out to be the situation, what does that leave for the PBC to work with? Veteran boxing scribe Sean Nam took to his social media and stated, "I asked Ryan Garcia's advisor and close Al Heyman associate, Lupe Valencia, what it means for the PBC fighters to be involved in a Saudi-backed Matchroom card when PBC has their own rights deal with Amazon, and he declined to answer, saying, let's stay positive."
Well, what about that question was negative?
It's a pretty neutral question when you think about it, and the only way there could be a negative connotation is because of what the implications are. What does it imply? That with so many of the PBC's fighters fighting on a Matchroom show, what does that leave them with? To populate their schedule, their calendar year over there at Amazon Prime, now that they are doing business with them.
With this many of your fighters, your guys, all tied up in what is a Matchroom show that's likely to land on DAZN, what does that leave you to work with?
It all speaks to a previous tweet from boxing insider Rick Glacier, who stated, "They're rating the PBC, both Oscar Golden Boy Promotions and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. They have announcements forthcoming in regards to both respectively signing PBC fighters. Another 2 fighters are gone from the PBC, now totaling 19 in recent months. Heyman definitely needs fresh money and fast. Maybe Turkey Al-Sheikh will be the provider of that fresh money that Heyman is in desperate need of."
Rick made this tweet before the press conference earlier today.
You're not just talking about fighters fighting on somebody else's show. Some of these fighters are outright leaving the PBC to sign to other promotional outfits. Subriel Matias just did.
In some ways, so did Boots. Everybody thought Boots was going to go with the PBC when he became a free agent. He went with Matchroom.
Kenny Sims parted ways with the PBC, so did Michelle Rivera to jump into bed with Salida Promotions.
He's going to be fighting on DAZN now.
It's not simply a case of outsourcing fighters for a particular opportunity. No, some of these fighters are outright leaving and making commitments to other promotional outfits, which accents what I've been telling you all along. When the money dries up and so do the fight dates, the fighters are going to float away.
Amazon's deal with the PBC is not a deal akin to the deal that the PBC had with Fox or Showtime. Amazon's not giving them a budget.
Now, what the fuck were they gonna do before Turkey Al-Sheikh stepped in and found use for at least 5 of their fighters? I don't know.
More pay-per-views?
More crowd-funded boxing? Perhaps, because that seems to have been the strategy. Now, you have to figure that with at least 5 of your fighters all tied up in this August show, they're not going to be available for you to use them.
And if this influx of PBC fighters being outsourced, if this mass exodus continues, Al Heyman will be reduced to little more than just the booking agent.
Because that's what you are when a broadcaster isn't giving you a big annual budget to do your own shows. You're little more than a source for bigger and better promotional outfits to find opponents for their fighters.
Now maybe Al Heyman gets a cut out of whatever those guys make.
The ones he still has under contract, but that is what he would be reduced to in that situation. A booking agent.
Which isn't good for the longevity of the PBC in the long run.
I mean, they've still got that Canelo versus Munguia fight, and they've still got Gervonta Davis's next fight, the one with Frank Martin, but what are they going to do after that?